Started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Veteran Sports Voice Podcast. This is me, your guy Sean right here, our Coach Pops. And if you can see on the screen today, I am definitely pissed off today, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But joining me, as always, is my man, my dog, Ian McCants, sitting up in Alabama. I'm literally sitting off the beautiful, lovely shores of Lake Chico in southeast Arkansas at Lake Village, Arkansas. So enjoying, brother. Dude, we got a lot to talk about today.
A lot to talk about, man.
Yes, sir. And look, I got to be real. I kind of got back into the workforce thing again. I've been off for a long while, and I started my job here the last 2 days. And I let Ian kind of had to help out with this because, man, I got home. I worked through lunch so I could get home early. You know how it is, Ian. I work for the state. You work for the federal government.
Right.
You know how that works. So I came home, took a shower, rushed, and got some stuff going so I could battle with you today on this. So you know what, man? What you got going on, baby? Here in a minute, I'll tell everybody why I'm pissed off. So we'll go with it after that.
Oh man, so just catching up with me. I missed last week, man. So They told me when you get past 40, you just start having random aches and pains, man. And this one here really baffled me. Like, you ever had like a helmet on the knee hit?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's what my leg feels like, man. And outside of like missing a step a couple of weeks ago in Mississippi, there's nothing that I could attribute this pain to, man. It was so painful. I'm thinking I'm dying. They're going to have to amputate my leg, all this and all that, man. But I'm coming back around, man. So I'm glad to be here with you today. I miss chopping it up with you, good brother. So glad to be here.
I'm glad you're back too, man. Chris did a hell of a job filling in for us. And I do miss chopping it up. But you know what? I'm at that age. I'm at 54. Bro, I'm going to tell you, when you get that age, there's just times you get out of bed and you hurt yourself getting out of bed. So you got nothing but good times to look forward to, my brother. But look, as everybody can see down there, it says Coach Pop is pissed off today. And I am. The first thing we got to bring up is Brendan Sorsby, Texas Tech.
Let it fly, brother. Get it off your chest, man.
It's gonna come from right here, like right there. Okay. But what a jackass! What a jackass! And I'm sorry. You know what? You were a $4 million paid student athlete. I don't have to be nice to you. I'm not going to be nice to you. I've sat here and Ian, if anybody's seen our shows before, I did when I had Coach's Corner. I did a segment on gambling, and it just kind of hit at the right time because here the last week and a half in Arkansas, Kevin Hart has been on my TV on every local channel, LeBron James, all these big-time athletes going, hey, Arkansas, DraftKings is now in Arkansas because now it's legal to sports bet in Arkansas. And I'm going to tell everybody right now, if this situation right here doesn't prove it, if you bet on anything college football, college athletics in general, especially a prop bet, you're a damn fool and you deserve to lose your damn money. That's just how it is. And in case people don't know, so Brendan Sorsby is a transfer quarterback to Texas Tech. He was placed on indefinite leave of absence to enter a residential treatment program for gambling. Let me say that again, for gambling. Gambling, a quarterback, the person who touches the ball every play of every offensive snap, of every offensive play, he touches the ball. A guy that controls the outcome of every game or can control the outcome of every game. Like, how do you even justify? And then this goes back 2 years when he was at Cincinnati, when he was at Indiana. Supposedly he has bet on games that he was in, that he was participated. I don't give a damn if you're on the sidelines, if you started, didn't start. If that's your team and you bet on them, I'm sorry, done, game over. You have violated the integrity of this game, and every time you throw an incomplete pass, I'm going to side-eye the hell out of you going, What would you have going on here? Because if you think this is just him, I mean, look, I said it last year when John Material's friend was like, "Oh, look at this!" It was him on his Venmo or Cash App, whatever. I think it was Venmo, where he literally put up paying you back for a sports bet. That's a quarterback, University of Oklahoma, still the quarterback at University of Oklahoma. You saw it last year with a kid from Buffalo, University of Buffalo. Instead of scoring a touchdown, stepped out of bounds. That was a prop bet, people, that he bet on. And you're a damn fool if you think this is the only kid doing this. This is ongoing. But this is what happens when NIL gets involved and everybody else. And then college, the NCAA is going, hey, you know what? You're going to get to make all this money, and somehow magically integrity is just going to sprinkle itself on top. Bullcrap. Right. I'm throwing up the bullcrap flag right now. And I'm sorry, I went ranting. I will rant later, but I'll let you do your talk now.
Well, you know what, man? I understand where you're coming from. Totally. I agree. But the way that I operate, man, I be getting so mad in this world. And I think a lot of us veterans, we do that, because we don't got the luxury of looking at the world through an artsy or idealistic way. Okay. We're like point blank. And so, man, sometimes I just have to look at things point blank to understand. Right. And so I just gotta give you an alternating point of view. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm a bettor, right? But the thing about it is, it's not about making money. It's the challenge of it, because there is a way to make money on it. Okay. Just like there's a slight chance to beat the casinos. It's slight. Okay. But there's people that have dedicated themselves to the craft. That's what attracts me. Okay. But at the same time, on a surface level, man, we just have to be honest about who people are. Like you said, I work for the federal government, man, and I've been involved in more shutdowns in the past year that I would like to elaborate on. But, the latter part of last year that, it was all a guess. It was like, okay, how long are they going to be out of work? Mm-hmm. I did not know until I went to this site and I saw people placing bets on how long the shutdown was going to be. And that allowed me to advise my staff, hey, this is not going to be over in a week. The money's on 60 days, and, the reality was around that. So that's the world, man. That's the world. We live in a world of greed. Okay. So what's the difference with betting and stocks, right? What's the difference? It's all a bet. And so I get what you're saying. It sucks, but there's only one party that has control here, and it's the fans. Until the fans stop going, we're just talking, man, because just like me and you said, right? We know that people join the military not out of patriotism. They join the world. They join the military for the GI Bill.
I joined for the college fund.
Right. So let's not act like people are playing for Alabama and Arkansas to make us happy, because we love Alabama and Arkansas, right? We love that. We bleed that, but it's a business decision to them. So let's not act like these people aren't like the rest of the world. They're just greedy. They're not playing out of state pride, man. They're just trying to make money on top of money on top of money. And the thing about it is, I don't criticize people for them doing what gave them the edge in the first place, right? So we got athletes, right? And they're different than common people because of an edge, right? So when we catch them gambling, or we catch them fighting dogs, or we catch them doing whatever they do, why are we ever surprised? Because that's what separated them in the first place. It's the edge, right? And so I never criticize anybody for human nature. So this is what I'm going to say, about this Texas Tech quarterback. It sucks, but until the fans start, bro, we got the WNBA. They've been in the red forever, but they're negotiating higher contracts off the popularity of two players. So that just goes to show you that big business does not care until money is affected, and money is not affected until the fans take a stand. And so outside of that, we can't expect these people to do what's in the best interest of you and I, because we really like support these teams, man. It's business decisions, and that's just what it is until the fans wake up, man.
You know what? And I'll agree with you to an extent, but then I'm going to come off with the people's elbow with the rebuttal off the top turnbuckle with the people's elbow right here for rebuttal. So, but here's the reality. You said you're a better, right? You said I'm a better. I like betting. I like
right.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind you betting, Ian. You want to know why? Because you can't control the outcome of the game at the end of the day. I don't care about your bet. I think it's stupid. I think it's dumb. You're my dog, and I love you to death, and I just don't see it because of dumb stuff like this. Because here's the reality: no one wants to talk about out loud. When a quarterback is compromised, the whole damn game is compromised.
Right.
Every throw, every read, every decision. Like he can sit there and literally change the play at the line of scrimmage if he's got a bet in this game. You know what?
Right.
It's not playing ball anymore. That's controlling the outcome.
Right.
Now, you're right about this. And once the fans start questioning the outcomes, the NCAA is done. The sport is done.
Mm-hmm.
But once that happens, you don't get that trust back, right? And so I guess the NCAA, and I want to be real clear on this, look, when I was coaching, when I was there, even as a student coach, man, we got the damn lecture of you don't get to bet on anything, not professional, not college, not anything. And now they've let these kids where they can bet on pro games. Mm-hmm. But if they bet on pros, you think they're not going to go bet on these, like on college games, especially ones they can control the outcome of?
I don't disagree with you, man. And you made a big point. Now, there's a big difference between prop bets and line bets. Okay. Mm-hmm. Prop bets, bro, I think I've told this story before. I remember one time I had a bet, and it was the Golden State Warriors, and this was early in the season. This is when Jimmy Butler was considered option number 2 to Steph Curry. And me and my wife, we're up, man. It's like we're watching Golden State play. It's like 1:00 in the morning, man. And Jimmy Butler had to get like 17 points. He had like 13 in the first half. He just needed 4 points in the second half. We watched him punt, fake, pass. We watched him do all this stuff, man, to avoid them points, just to score the points in the last second. But that doesn't make me feel better because there's so many prop bets, right? So you can prop bet how many points he has for the whole game. You can prop bet how many points he has for the second half. You can prop bet how many points he has for the fourth quarter. You can prop bet how many points he has in 2 minutes. And so prop bets is where we lost betting. Now, there's still people making money because we get excited over the big stars, but there's very consistent people, man. There's people that are trying to make rosters. And, so you can bet on certain stuff and they're going to get their 8-9 points every night, So, yeah, we don't know what Kevin Durant's going to do, but we know what James Smith's going to do the moment that he get in those. So people still make money, man. But prop bets is where everything got lost. If you just bet on a line, that's going to be where it is, So team A still wants to win the SEC, and so they're going to try to win as many games as possible. But if we're betting on Ty Simpson to throw 300 yards in a game or 180 in a game, that's where it gets lost. And the crazy thing is that sports betting is only legal in certain states, but the states where it's not legal accept prop bets, man, like Georgia, so I can't bet that, Alabama beats Arkansas, but I can bet that Jam Miller has so many rushing yards in the, so it's all a scam, man. And until the fans really start revolting on this thing, it's just too much money, man, because they're betting on everything, even when a government shutdown ends, Oh,
yeah. You're right. But even on the line bets, let's say I'm sitting back there and this guy Sorsby over here, and I placed a bet that we're gonna win the game, but I'm gonna be under whatever the line is, right? It's in the fourth quarter. I got a guy wide open. Oh, I throw the pass away. I'm still under the line. I bet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's got to be dealt with because this thing is the integrity of the game is more important than anything else. If you don't have integrity to the game, you don't have a game. And I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. And people shouldn't be throwing their money away on this because the NCAA needs to come down. And you know what? If these gambling sites are going to make money off of these and you have an athlete betting, you need to be like, look, I'll be the first one. Who do you think catches most of these scandals? 9 out of 10 times. Like when before it got all these prop bets and everything going like this online, dude, the bookies were the ones because they would see the irregular bets and they would tip off the FBI. So that's how that works. You have to clean up your own house. You got to help maintain the cleanliness of your own house, and that has to help with the NCAA. And the NCAA needs to come down hard. They need to.
We know the NCAA don't got no teeth, man. We know that.
Dude, they better find some, or they ain't gonna have nothing if they don't. But you're right.
You're
right. Well, so we're gonna move on from that. I'm pissed off. The hell with DraftKings and everybody else. You just taking everybody else's money. And like you said, the hell with the NCAA because you ain't got no teeth because you're scared. But that's all right. But you know what? We did have last week. We had an NFL draft, man. We had an NFL draft. Now you brought this one up. I'm gonna let you lead in with this one because this was your baby here. All this has been your baby today. But I'm gonna let you lead in with this.
Well, first of all, we got to give shout outs to one of the best shows in our partnership. So we had Jamal and Snacks.
That's right. Chris Martin.
And so, if you guys are watching this, please check it out. That was one of the greatest draft play-by-play shows that we had. But outside of that, man, it was more the same, the SEC. They still, I think, led out of all conferences. I think they were like 87 selections. They weren't good early, but overall. Okay, they had an overall good from the early to the middle to the late rounds. Big Ten, came in second. Of course, Ohio State, had a record year with 11 picks or whatever. But overall, the Big Ten was lower than the SEC and also the ACC and the Big 12. So, when you look at this draft, man, and a lot of times, people want to say the SEC has lost steam as far as being the best conference. But, right now the draft isn't showing so. Even with a controversial pick like Ty Simpson, and we're going to get into him later. But, I haven't been, really happy with Ty all year. I would have been one of those fans that would have been mad with him being selected to my teams. Ty really made his money on one game, and that was the Georgia game. And even I was there at that game in attendance, and it wasn't as impressive as it looked on TV, man. But outside of that, I don't foresee him having such a successful career in the NFL, and I'm kind of shocked that he was taken so early. But outside of that, that is a perfect example of an established program that has won Super Bowls in the last decade being willing to take a chance on a guy from an SEC program outside of guys, so has the SEC really fallen off? The way that people say that the draft doesn't seem to indicate so. So, how do you feel about that?
I don't think so, because you know what I see in this draft. Like you said, the SEC had 87 total selections, and 25 last year they set a record with 79, so they broke their own record from last year. The Big Ten did come in with 68 picks, and you did mention this. You said Ohio State led all schools with 11 selections, but there were two schools in the SEC, Alabama and A&M, that had 10 selections, 10 picks. The way I look at it, they kind of these teams are choosing depth over star power. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right.
They're going to, but you know what? It's kind of like, is the SEC second team? I mean, these guys are good. I want to say, and you know what? And look, I can give you a couple of recruits that I talked to that I when I was with the University of Arkansas there when I was doing my thing and they were, I talk to these guys. I'd say, hey, look, come into Arkansas, you get to play in the SEC. That's the minor leagues for the NFL. Mm-hmm. And every kid would agree because there's truth to it. Now, is the Big Ten stepping up? Yes, they're stepping up in a big way. But can they maintain? The SEC's maintained over all these years. I mean, dude, we can go back to the 90s when me and you were in the Navy doing our thing, and I was in the Army and at first and then in the Navy. Dude, we can think about some of the great draft picks that came out. The SEC was doing, and they're still doing their thing, right? And then when it comes to Todd Simpson, man, I know how you feel about it, and I have to agree with you. You talked about our show with that the Athletes Forum podcast. They did a draft special, and they had Jamal Clay and Chris Snacks Martin on there. And dude, these guys, if you ain't seen it, like he said, y'all need to go watch it, bro. They were like literally going, all right, the Jets are fixing to pick this guy, and boom, that's who they picked. Like I was like, oh my god, it was amazing. But I have to go with Snacks on this. This was kind of a luxury pick for the Rams. You had to say Simpson is raw as hell, and I'll agree with that. And Snacks said the same thing. But he gets to work under Stafford for a year, 2 years, whatever, however long Stafford has. But then you got McVay back there, man. Coach McVay is probably one of the best. He's a quarterback coach. Like if anybody can develop a quarterback, it's going to be that guy. And so I think he can do this. I think he can do it. But now let me ask you. I know you were bothered with him going in the first. What if your team would have picked him in the second round? Would it be a different conversation?
Honestly, this draft wasn't sexy for quarterbacks at all.
This was a weird draft.
Name one quarterback, man. Even Mendoza. I mean, he sounds like a coach. He talks like a coach. He had his little John Elway Heisman moment against Miami, but outside of that, man, he didn't really wow you with his talent or anything like that. So
and he went to the Raiders. Man. And he went to the Raiders, man. That's where careers go to die.
Outside of Caleb Downs to Dallas, I don't really know any pick that everybody was just like, yo, that is a franchise pick right there, man.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Dallas, Caleb Downs, Dallas made some smart picks, man.
Right.
I think the Jets did pretty good, if I'm not mistaken, if I was remembering. But hey, I kind of would Snacks on this, and I know Snacks. Me and him go way back, and that dude knows the draft like nobody's business, dude. Like people could pay him to do that, and Jamal too. But I mean, this is something I know Snacks. Gosh, since 2013, he and I've known each other, and this is one of his things, and he likes to pick, and because of where Ty fell, Ty doesn't have to play right away, man. He gets to learn in a system. And does he need it? Absolutely. Hell yeah, I think he needs it. But he did play at Alabama, pressure in the SEC, big games in the SEC. Did he show up in all of them? No, not at all. And you can't blame the offensive line for everything. But so I think if I'll be honest, I think he has a better chance of success than Mendoza does. That's just me, though.
Absolutely, man. Ty, AJ McCarron had a halfway decent NFL career. And I see that with Ty. He's a coach's son. He's very studious. He talks it. But, being fair to him, he only had really 1 year. Under that coordinator. He backed up Jalen, and so Jalen, man, throw Jalen Milroe, throw the playbook out the window. We saw what he did. I mean, now he had an arm, but that was it. He had an arm, no touch, no precision, no accuracy, none of that. So it's either lunch it out there, let him run up under it, or he's running. You get Ty, and he's somewhat better. But man, he was on the mode of John Parker Wilson, Greg McElroy, man. I mean, he was more of a game manager. I think
John
maybe
Parker Wilson. You brought up John Parker Wilson.
We're gonna give him Jake Coker, man. Jake Coker. And so when his tight end went out, I think that really affected him. But he wasn't analyzed picking apart defenses. Now, buckle up. Bama got some coming, and our reports of demise are greatly exaggerated. But outside of that, man, I think Ty's in a good situation. He's going to be a career backup. And, you know, he just says the right things, and he's the kind of guy that you want on your team, you know, but if he going to be a game maker? I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
So I think, okay, so we'll end on this one right here with this question right here. So by the Rams, is this a reckless reach, or is this a long-term chess move? I personally think it's a long-term good chess move.
I agree. Yeah, okay. I agree. I mean, to be honest, he's kind of like Stafford. You know, I'm not going to say he's talented as Stafford, but, you know, honestly, they're kind of like the same. And so, you know, they selected a good understudy. Now, of course, now in the draft, you want instant success. I mean, I think they called Ty the worst pick in the draft. You had Dan Orlovsky, like he's like the white Stephen A. Smith, man. I mean, what does this guy get to talk about? What did he do ever? You know? Right. And so anyway, man, they're panning it. But like you said, I think this is going to go back to the way that things used to be.
Right.
You know, we have a guy that can sit back for a few years. Now, Stafford ain't getting no younger.
That's right.
So I don't think that Ty has 3-4 years or whatever. You know, I think he has at least a year. So I hope that he gets in there and, you know, he turns it into something. I don't see much, but I think that he can have a career as a backup at a minimum.
Right. I think that most he has 2 years. I don't see Stafford staying more than 2. You know, he's out of there. That's my take on it there. You know, and hopefully he'll have some running backs that can help him out, because in deboer's offense, you got to have some running backs. And speaking of deboer and everything else, you know, it's so funny that you brought this up, because, oh my God, the counter is on my side over here with the University of Arkansas. Alabama just be throwing money out there like it's monopoly money. Arkansas throwing, like they are now getting rid of men's, women, and tennis after the next 2 years. After this season, which is in play right now. This is the last of it, and we'll get into that, why they're doing it and what's going on. But and the sad part is, Ian, is I think we're going to find even the Alabamas, even the Georgia, are going to at some point are going to have to discontinue at least two sport, like a sport. Like Arkansas picked tennis, because you can't just do away with women's. You got to do it men. They have to be equal across the board. That's part of the Title IX agreement with the universities and with the federal government. So that has to be that way. But with that being said, man, just like your board of trustees, I mean, y'all doled out some money, big dog. What's going on? I mean, for a fan base that allegedly is supposed to be, and everybody not, you know, on deboer's side, boy, they sure ponied up and said, "Hey, you're our dude," or somebody made a dumb decision. What do you think's going on, big guy?
Well, man, you know, I think that this shows what the powers that be really feel about him, and honestly, man, it could be a colossal waste of money, but surface level, it gives me some confidence, man, because they're basically paying him like, what is it, 12.5 annually.
Yeah, and 7 of your assistants are making over $1 million in 2026.
Yeah. And so, you know, this is a guy that just, you know, halfway through last season, especially if he had a loss to Oklahoma in the playoffs, you know, people were talking about him, you know, being fired, to having this. And so I really like it. I like the fact that the university is putting their money where their mouth is. And honestly, man, like, you know, you have to admit I'm pretty fair, you know, when it comes to Bama. But I think
not to South Carolina, but to Bama, yeah.
Right. But I think that it remains to be seen with him, man. Like I said, we got to be fair. You know, for some reason, people acted like Alabama was going to maintain the same levels of success with who did that? You know, right. They were just trying to run Ryan Day out of there, you know, just 2 years ago. Kirby didn't have to deal with that when it came from success from Mark Richt. Like, so you think about any type of major, quote unquote, blue blood, Texas. I mean, they haven't been back since Mac Brown. You know, USC hasn't been back since Pete Carroll. So outside of LSU, who maintained dominance? And like we said with LSU, you really just had a couple of morons in there who were smart enough to not mess up the system. And so that was the only thing with deboer, man. Like, he's not a Les Miles. He's not an Orgeron. He's not none of them. He's not even a Brian Kelly. I think that deboer feels that he's won at every level that he's been at. And on top of that, this is what people miss. Outside of Orgeron, Les Miles, or Brian Kelly, did they even play the game? deboer did, and deboer was a high level wide receiver, man. So he has a lot of arrogance, and I think the jury's still out on him, but he's going to have to run that doggone ball. I don't care how you slice it. That little quarterback, halfback draw from the, he's going to have to run that ball. He's going to have to find somebody in there that's not, and it's not going to take a lot, man, bro. Like what the running backs is escaping my name, but what's the guy that he played for Bama? I think he played for LA for a little while, Las Vegas, but what Brent, oh my God, I can't think of his name. I know he had a big time run against Oklahoma, but basically he wasn't even really used by Bama, but he was still drafted in the first round. But have one of him, whatever his name is, it'll come to me, and they'll be okay, man. But I think that this was a good move by the university by putting money behind him and just quieting the rumors about how the powers that be feel about him. Now, is it a great choice? That remains to be seen, but I do like the move.
Right. Well, you're right. You got to have a running game in the SEC. You got to have a game. You got to have a running game that the linebackers are going to respect, the corners are going to respect. Your safeties can't sit back and just look past every time because they may be having to fill that middle there. You're right, 100%. The way I feel about this is, for on Alabama side of this, and I'll get on the Arkansas side here in a minute, but in my opinion, man, this is Alabama. The dynasty that was Alabama, and let's be real, it's not that dynasty after Saban left, but they're not far from it. They're not. They're really not. I mean, y'all can say, I know, and you don't. You really don't. I'll be honest. I mean, you've given the negative connotations on deboer when it was needed, but people are out here like, oh, he can't recruit. Oh, no, yeah, he can. He's had 2 top 5 recruiting classes. Like, the man can recruit. His coaching style, I think he's got to – every great coach has got to figure the way out. Saban did the same thing when he went from Michigan State to LSU to the Dolphins and then to Alabama. That's part of the change of it, right? So I feel like this is a move here where Alabama's like, hey, we're getting serious in the game again. And so, not only did they do that, but they even increased the expenditures of their athletic budget. Like, they added money to it and everything else. Like, they another $4 million. From that and stuff, and they're doing exactly what like Arkansas did too. They're like, so I'll jump into what Arkansas last week announced that they're doing away with their men's and women's tennis program in this season. Boom, it's done. And the reason why, because it frees up $2.3 million, and it wasn't making money. There are only 2 programs, and there's only 2 programs in most colleges that make money. College basketball, college football. Arkansas has one of the considered one of the top track and field besides Oregon. I mean, Arkansas, they've won like 50-something national titles, indoor, outdoor. It's insane what they do. They're losing massive amounts of money on it, but football and basketball makes it up. Well, last January in 28, the Arkansas Board of Trustees voted 7-3 to say, hey, you've got to come up with $15 more million annually for the athletic budget to do this. So this is one of those things right here. You cut this program right here. There's a bill going through this Arkansas State Senate right now to help fund some of this, like $6 million for this. So it's crazy, and this is all NIL driven. And it's all but it's part of that keeping up with Alabama, keeping up with Georgia, and the part I don't understand is if I'm Hunter Yurachek, I'm the athletic director. Look, I'm getting on my knees. I'm crawling on my hands and knees to the Waltons up there in Arkansas. I'm calling up to the Tysons.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Y'all,
Arkansas got some money, man.
There's money. There's more billionaires
Yeah.
in Northwest Arkansas than there is anywhere in the United States. That's the fact. Like, go look it up. Dillard's, Tyson's, Walmart, JB Hunt. Like, trust me, I worked in JB Hunt, like not at JB Hunt, but I worked in the oil and gas industry. That man had oil rigs. That man wasted more money on oil rigs, not finding oil than most people will ever see or hear about in their lifetime. So there's money to be had. But yeah, so that's the part of it there. And I mean, look, Alabama's got it figured out. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. But you know what? They went all in. I will say that.
Yeah. Well, I think why this is important, man, because this is my this is what I feel. At the end of the day, man, everything settles down. You have peaks and valleys. You still gotta win high school, man. You still gotta win it. I don't care if you got sports betting 27-year-olds on your team. You better win high school. And so I think that's what deboer is doing. He did not have the best transfer portal haul, but once again, they went into Baton Rouge and they took the number 1 quarterback in the nation, Elijah Haven, who, they're rating as a can't miss. People, of course, are comparing him to Cam Newton because he's black. But outside of that, man, he's more of like a Josh Allen clone,
Right.
And so, they're going to have one of the best quarterback rooms, man. And most of that was from high school ranks outside of, the one guy that came down from Washington that came with the coaching staff, man. Right. And so I think that's where success will be. And I really like this move. Like I said, man, I don't understand why all these unrealistic demands and expectations are placed on Bama, but at the end of the day,
because Bama set the standard, man. Honestly, even today, I look at, there's Georgia right there, but Georgia still hasn't done what Alabama did, even though it was Saban. But Alabama still is kind of, to me, the standard bearer.
Right. But like we talked about, man, I think it's simple. Saban, like what was he great at outside of running his program? And that's a big statement, man. You can't let the outside noise in. You can't let the outsiders. Right. And outside of that, I just don't see another him. So we got a whole bunch of second level people where, Kirby's still winning outside, based on history. But, we saw with the draft, we saw with what, how long is that going to last? It's just a whole bunch of, people that really don't have that teeth that we're talking about. And right. So they're just, man, they call it parity. It's really not, man. You just don't have that alpha male that's in there, ready to shut everything down. So hopefully deboer, he can win. I don't know. I'm just ready to have that Saban-like person to come in, man, and just shut the doors to all the outside noise. And I just don't see anybody like him.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is because you did this, and this is what every Alabama fan has ever done. And I will do this here. But, before Saban, it was, there was only one Bear Bryant. Everybody was looking for the next Bear Bryant. Gene Stallings had some success there, won a natty there, and he kind of did it the way Bear Bryant did it, line up 3 yards in a cloud of dust and just whooped everybody's ass on the line of scrimmage. And then Saban came along, and now everybody's looking for the next Saban. You know what? You just got to look for the next Alabama coach that's going to do what Alabama does. And Alabama does have an image that there's that tough image, of defense, hard-nosed lineup. You don't take any crap on anybody on the field. And deboer's got to. I think deboer is going to be okay. I really do. I think as long as he figures himself out, he's got to he's got to be able to evolve as a coach in the SEC. Right. And I think that. But the thing that scares me, and for me to you personally as an Alabama guy, is be careful. Watch behind the scenes, because I think all these teams that are going to do this, I think Arkansas is going to go the same route because I think we're just doing it before everybody else. You are going to end up cutting programs because this model is not sustainable. You're just not. There's no way you can pay $12.5 million to a head coach and then 7 of your assistants get $1 million unless you start cutting somewhere else. And so let's see where that goes.
Especially if you're not winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but my fear, and I hear you loud and clear, but I agree, but I do think that when you have a program like Alabama, like for example, we compare Alabama and Arkansas. If we're just talking about money, you guys should be the dominant program. So what's the draw? What's the draw with Alabama, man? We're not talking about alumni. We're not talking about funding. And I really think that's what Saban ran. That's why he ran. He saw it coming to this, and his arrogance or ego would not allow him to compete with the Auburn, down there for a recruit. Man, like this is the most selfish time that we've ever been in, man. They talk about like, you got too many chiefs, not enough Indians. That's really what it is now, man. Everybody's a chief, bro. You got load management, you got NIL deals, you got no loyalty. And so really, man, I don't know what it will take, but I think the only thing going for Alabama is that you've had 2 legends, there. And so it's just like Joe Paterno. Who the hell wants to go coach there, man? But it's just the fact that it's a legend. It's a name. Does it deserve? When you talk about tangible qualities, I'm not so sure, but outside of that, you want to go there. You want to, be the guy that, exceeded Joe Pa. You want to be the guy that exceeded, but that's really all that they have to go on, man, because if we talk about black and white nuts and bolts, I don't really know who Alabama compete with. And that's just being honest.
Right. Well, we'll see. And I'm hoping and praying, like for me personally, I hope if Arkansas just has a half decent season, I think you're going to see the investment in the program just shoot up. People are wanting to invest. I think part of the problem is with the fan base here, they don't trust our athletic director, Hunter Yurachek, but he did bring Calipari in basketball there. But if we, with this coaching selection with Ryan Silverfield, look, man, if Ryan gets 5-6 wins right off the bat right here and does, look, I'm not looking for a showstopper. I'm looking for something that, what, I can invest in this program. Yes, I can invest in this program. And once that happens, once money starts flowing, my God, because that's a problem. Nobody's really invested.
A few years ago, man, we felt that about Pittman.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yeah. So, absolutely.
Hey, with that being said, we got a few viewers on here, and I just want to, real fast before we go on to the next segment here, hey, this is a Veteran Sports Voice podcast, run and college sports right here, spoken by 2 veterans that have served. We appreciate you being on here. And look, man, you're watching us on YouTube right now, man. Hey, go down there and hit that subscribe button. Man, that's how we get our message out. That's how 2 veteran guys with normal jobs do normal things, but then get to come out here and get to talk and act like we get to talk about some extraordinary things when we're just 2 average Joes that served in this man's military. We appreciate you guys. If you're on X, man, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button there. Keep it going with this. Keep it real, because we're always going to keep it real. We don't hold back. At the end of the day, we're 2 crusty ass veterans that's going to tell you the truth, how it is, and the why it is the way it is. So, but we appreciate all of you guys on our show today. And with that being said, right here, man, let's go down to the next thing. This one, you hit me up on this. So we are a college sports. We are college sports crew. We talk college sports. But okay, I have to go with you on this one. You brought up LeBron James, the GOAT. People call him the GOAT. You know what? You brought this up first, Ian. I'm going to let you do your thing, and then I'll jump in, or vice versa. I can do mine, and you do yours. You tell me how you want to run it.
I'm about sick of this, dude. Like, me and my wife, we watched about a 15-minute video of flops by LeBron.
Yes.
And it is the worst mess. Like, he actually propels himself on the floor to sell the worst. He was getting hit by his own teammates. But this is the thing, man. I'm not a LeBron hater. Right? I'm not. But this is what I say. Why do people not call Emmitt Smith the best NFL rusher of all time.
But isn't he though? Doesn't he hold the most? He holds the record.
But
yes.
Why does nobody ever call him the best running back?
You're right. You're right. You know, there was Walter Payton and there's Emmitt Smith. You know, that's
Barry Sanders, bro.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. But I saw Walter Payton.
We saw Walter.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if we put Emmitt at number 4, number 5, and we know what happened, right? They had the best of the best. If you put Barry Sanders behind those Cowboys lines, he would have broke every record that there is. That's how it is about LeBron, man. So nobody's hating, but I would put him below about 6 or 7 people. But we're talking about in the NBA. Is that really a diss? And so I thought about it. Okay, what does he mean to me? And where I have to give him credit is the man is a physical specimen. Him and Tom Brady.
Oh, he's been there. He's 41 years old, putting up crazy numbers in the playoffs. I give him props.
$1 million a year. They spend on self-care. But people, we have to acknowledge the advancement. And this is what I say. Look at kickers. I remember, man, like we used to pray for a 40-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're hitting 60 to 65 yarders. I mean, man, come on now. Just drive 25, 30 yards and then give it to your kicker.
Absolutely.
And I really think that has the evolved quarterback play, because that's another thing. 10 years ago, we're banking on that 330. Now they're happy with a Jalen Hurts, just hand the ball off, make an occasional pass. You really not having quarterbacks throw for 300. Like if you're prop betting a quarterback throwing over 300, you're wasting your freaking money, And so I think that, kickers are a great example of how the human body has strengthened, whether it's technique or science or whatever. And these guys are routinely hitting 60 yards. So we can congratulate, LeBron for being a physical specimen at his age, but to call him the GOAT, come on, man. It just bothers me. And, they want to gravitate to everything that he does. Congratulations if you guys do beat Houston, in the playoffs. But, man, come on now. Let's just be honest and stop disrespecting Jordan, man.
I agree. And you know what? I'll sit here and say this. If LeBron played during the age of Jordan, Bird, and all them, I mean, do you think he would have scored that many points against Lambeer and Rick Mahorn?
Can he flop against those Pistons? Like he would have stayed on the floor the whole game, man.
Dude, and they would have hit him for real. Like, oh, you flopped? Oh,
Rick Mahorn.
Let me give you a reason to flop.
Yeah.
So he plays in a different era, and of course, these youngsters nowadays they don't see that. I mean, dude, some of the best fights I saw growing up. You had hockey. But that wasn't a big thing in the South, but I would watch it because it was reruns on ESPN when ESPN came out. But, dude, I'd watch Bird and all them fight. I would watch,
Right.
I mean, they didn't let someone mess with Jordan back in the day or Rod. I mean, they were – dude, the Detroit Pistons back in the day, you didn't – dude, I didn't even –
That's what made Jordan, man. The
exactly.
Detroit Pistons.
Yes.
Climbing that gauntlet. But outside of that, now the guys just want to play together. The rumor right now, they're trying to save Steve Kerr's job. And so, they're hoping that Durant and James joins Curry at Golden State. I mean, man, that's sickening, bro. Sickening.
Back in the day, it used to be coaches used to have to coach. They couldn't get the best players and do it. You're right. It's gotten out of hand. But do I think – you know what? I give him props. He's 41 years old. He's doing his thing. But stop the flopping, man. Just, stop flopping. Do your thing. Do I think you're one of the greatest players? Yeah, I think you're one of the top 10 greatest players.
Yeah.
Do I think you were better than Jordan? Do I think you were better than – hell no. No. Dude, there's video, and if people don't believe me, go look up YouTube video. Jordan used to do this consistently. He would sit there at the free throw line and go, close his eyes and make free throws.
Right.
Dude, you talk about muscle memory. That's muscle memory. Like LeBron wouldn't do that right there. He did that right there. He's getting fallen over because he said he got fouled.
And it's very simple to me, bro. And like I said, I'm a bettor, right? So I look at it from this standpoint. We got 10 seconds, man. 10 seconds. And we got a guy inbounding under the opponent's goal. He got 10 seconds to drive that court. $1 million on the line. Who is that ball going to? Yes. How many people am I putting above LeBron? Because I'm hoping that LeBron drives and gets fouled. Yeah. I'm not hoping that he hits the shot.
Hell, I'd put Seth Curry over here if I got $1 million.
Seth Curry, man, it's embarrassing. Like, why is Seth Curry not as respected? Is it because he's light skinned?
I don't know. That's a good question. And see, look at that. We are called a sports crew, but every now and again we dole off in the pro because some things just need to be spoken.
He changed the game. The game, and I know that he's not from no projects or whatever, man. And it's no feel good story. He's a NBA player's son or whatever, and he went to Davidson. But man, come on, man.
Yeah, dude can shoot when lights out.
The game, and not in a good way, but you have to give him credit for what he did, and so how in the world is this guy not mentioned up there? It's crazy. But LeBron, like I say, I equate him to Emmitt Smith. They're the same, just like Emmitt Smith doesn't make it out of probably my top 5 or 6 as far as running backs, but outside of that, man, like, you can't make me crazy for what I saw with my own eyes. And I'm sitting here arguing with people that didn't even see Jordan play.
I know, exactly, right?
That's insane.
Like, go watch the video. Man, like
Jordan would call him. Educate yourself.
Yeah, Jordan would call shots. He'd be like, hell, Jordan was so good. There was times he'd be like, I don't know. I'm just doing my thing. But, speaking of things, evolution and everything else, we're going to get into our last subject here. We got a few minutes here, and this one, it really intrigued me because I watched this firsthand at the University of Arkansas. Cam Little this year as a kicker, he hit from 68 yards, if I'm not mistaken. He actually now holds the record. He actually hit in the preseason, but it didn't count, and then later in the season he hit and did it. And this kid, man, first off, I want to say something about this kid. I love this kid, not just because, he won a bunch of games, but this is one of those guys we talk about, a guy making $4 million at the beginning of this show that went and bet his life away. This kid right here was a kicker. He had a little bit of NIL money, but he also had a brother, if I'm not mistaken, that was a special needs. And every kick that he made, he donated $1,000 in his name to the Arkansas Children's Hospital. So to his brother's name. So this is stuff. And this kid made a lot of field goals over his career at Arkansas.
Right,
and he actually got drafted in the high rounds as this. But you brought up, the evolution of the kicker. And you know what? Since 1960 to 2014, let this sink in for a minute because you're on to something. 14 for 118 60-plus yard field goals.
Wow.
In the last 3 seasons, 14 for 37.
So what is that, man? Is that gravity? Is that helium in the balls?
You know what?
Are these stronger legs and technique? And so that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
We see this all across the board. And so, yes, LeBron, you are way stronger than Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, at your age, like your continued performance, bravo. But to say you're the GOAT, bro, like, this is something that inspires in me excitement and happiness and sadness and, love and lust and all that, man. LeBron ain't never did that, bro.
Right.
Never. And I'm going to tell you this, like, I was so happy for him that time when Cleveland came back and they came from 3-1 down and they came back and beat Golden State. And one of the greatest moments that I've ever had in NBA was when LeBron blocked Iguodala's shot, But even with that, without a Kyrie Irving 3, you're not winning that game, man. And we saw Jordan, throw a couple of passes, but they felt like assists. LeBron felt like desperation. You take that. You take Allen, away from the Spurs, you take quite a few shots away, man. And that man doesn't have, he might be down to one championship,
Oh, yeah.
And so, like I said, it's not hate. It's not hate to say somebody's not the GOAT, but that greatest of all time is a very big title. And you're projecting, if you ever say that LeBron is the GOAT over Jordan, especially if you were not alive.
Right.
From, or you did not watch the NBA from 1990 up into 2000, like you can miss me with all that talk.
Yep. Right. So, yeah, so we got that. So we're going to go. And I agree. Jordan, greatest of all time. I don't think LeBron is the GOAT. I think the GOAT was Jordan. And you know what? A little tidbit here. One of my very first basketball, wasn't my first, but one of my it was 1982, Pine Bluff at the Coliseum there. University of Arkansas beat University of North Carolina. Jordan was a true freshman there, and I got to see.
Let me tell you, man. And I think we talked about this, man. But I liked Arkansas, bro. I remember, what was his name? Lee Mary. Was it Scott Day? Was it?
It was Todd Day, Lee Mayberry.
That was when I started liking them, and that was before that Corliss Williamson's. And right. I remember, man, they played UNLV. And that was such a game. And I remember Todd Day, like, oh, man, And so, yeah, bro. Yeah, Arkansas has always had a great basketball history. I love it.
And with that being said, before we go on anything else, I have got to mention this. Hats off to my dude, Coach John Calipari. We just signed this guy from Finland, Mika, somebody. I'm sorry, I don't have his name here. You know what? Give me a second. I actually can find it. I have it right here. Because I replied out, everybody is loving this. Basketball is looking good. Mika Marinin out of Finland. We took over the number 1 recruiting class over Duke. We had the number 2, now we're number 1. Yeah. Dude, this dude is nothing but got nothing but 5 stars.
Let me tell you, man.
Transfers. It's going to be looking good for Arkansas basketball.
I don't know. I don't follow a lot of basketball, but if you want to see Calipari Jr., just look at the Alabama coach, man. Every year, dude, is 5 new starters, and they're all highly ranked, but you always have to worry.
About that gel.
You inject that chemistry in one season? And I think Calipari has had some of the most talented teams that I've seen in history, man. In fact, I remember one of my favorite teams, Kentucky, man. He had those twins.
Right.
And I don't think they won that year. Man. I think they played like a Wichita State or somebody, one of those teams that had been together and had jail, man. So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see how that goes. But definitely Alabama is modeling,
right.
Arkansas. So we'll see, man.
Yeah.
And
well, it's exciting to see.
Doing it, then just have the best of that year. And I think that Calipari can do that. Alabama, not sure.
Yeah, well, for Arkansas fans, it's exciting to see these recruits coming here. And I mean, this guy played he's a youngster, but he played in the Finnish Pro League over there in the Euro, one of the Euro leagues, and did good. But dude, this kid is a Finnish white dude, bro. I got to send you the video. This dude can fly. Like, he did a dunk, and I was like, oh my, it was Jordan-esque, dude. Like, I'm like, wow. So I have to send it to you so you can get that on. But hey, man, well, we are at 40 seconds right here, man. Ian, my brother, it has been a hell of a show, my guy.
Yeah,
I think this has been good. We flowed off each other. I love it. We got a few viewers out here that's been watching. Hey, we appreciate y'all being consistent. And you know what? Like I said, you're watching us right now on YouTube, and we are Veteran Sports Voice. I am Coach Pops, also Sean Mercer. I served in the Army and Navy. You see right here, airborne in the Army. I was in submarine service with my boy right here, my guy Ian McCants. It's that silent service. We've been in more classified areas than we probably were supposed to be. But you know what? I wouldn't change a thing. It was an honor to serve something greater than myself, and I know my guy Ian feels that way. I just want to say this right here. This show right here, seriously, everybody that's watching, I know you probably know a veteran, or you're a veteran, or you're an active duty service member. This show is dedicated to you guys, to our active duty, to our veterans, especially our active duty guys. There's like real world stuff going on right now. Like you said, I joined up for the college money, and the next thing you know, damn, a war broke out. So there we are, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's the difference. That's the difference. Let me say that, man. And I said this a week ago. Regardless of our intentions for joining, the military made sure that we transition into the right motive. That's not happening in this college world. And so all of your feelings are, entitled. I don't want you to feel like I was going against that. It's a big difference between what we do in the military. And so I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to highlight the difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And guys, so with that being said, hey, like he said here, I know I appreciate and I valued my service. I know Ian did also too. And you know what? Hey, I want to leave you this right here. If you know a veteran, check on them. Check on him or her, especially that one that says they're okay, because those are the ones you definitely want to check on. And we love our veterans. So do your part and check on them. Hey, if you're a Gold Star member, and if you don't know what that is, that's somebody that lost a loved one in a family member in the service of their country. You know what? That's a sacrifice that most people don't know or will never know. Honor them. You know what? Show them some love when you see them. And like I said, this show right here is dedicated to our veterans, to our active duty members, and we appreciate all of you being on here. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We want to see you again next week. And if you're on X, you know what? Hit that like button, because that's how we get our message out there. With that being guys said, I'm going to sign off. And if Ian, you got something, you sign off, brother, and we call her good.
That's it, brother. I can't top that. Well said. Great show. Can't wait to do it again.
All right, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. New topic, new subject, and maybe I won't be pissed off next week.
Absolutely.